In today's video, we are going to walk through another case study where we answer the question, can I retire at age 56 with $750,000 in savings? My company and I help retirees answer these questions day in and day out, and the answer is often more surprising than you might think. Over my many years helping retirees, the biggest lesson I've learned is that every individual is so different, and you cannot determine your own retirement situation based purely on generalized retirement advice, which is why in today's video, we are going to break down a specific scenario for an individual age 56 with $750,000 in savings and walk through the exact thought process so that you can apply it to your own situation. I'm really excited about this video because you'll be able to see most of the software that we use to analyze our clients' financial plans and how seemingly small decisions can really impact the quality of a person's retirement. With that being said, let me introduce you to Tom Wright from Florida. He is 55 years old and wants to retire at the end of this year. Before we can analyze if he can retire as is, we need to establish a baseline or a foundation of information on Tom so that we can test it against different scenarios: a bear market upon retirement, a long lifespan, and long-term care costs. Let's start with the basic overview of his investable assets. This does not include his home or other tangible assets, just his liquid investable assets. And this is because in retirement, your liquid assets are what actually drives your cash flow. So he has a high yield savings account worth $75,000 and a brokerage account worth just under $200,000. He has $300,000 in a pre-tax IRA and over $175,000 in a Roth IRA. As we can see, he is not overly dominant in one tax qualification, meaning that he has a nice mix of taxable, pre-tax, and tax-free monies. Now we're going to move to our flagship software to show you how we would start to analyze his situation. Here's the baseline. Tom is currently 55 and will be 56 upon retirement, and we're using a life expectancy of 95 years old. He has one son, Michael, and his goal is to be able to spend $50,000 per year in retirement. You'll see here that under Leave to Heirs, it says 0. But that doesn't mean that Tom wants to leave Michael nothing. It just means that he's not willing to sacrifice his lifestyle in retirement just to leave him an inheritance. And this is a very common sentiment. Under net worth, we can see their liquid investable assets that we reviewed earlier, as well as the value of his home, which he owns outright at $550,000. This brings his total net worth to roughly $1.3 million. Again, he wants to retire at the end of this year or age 56, so he'll earn his full salary this year of $80,000. Below, we have his full retirement age or age 67 Social Security benefit. We have him waiting until 67 in the baseline scenario, but we are going to test a few different filing strategies to see which one yields the highest possible annual spend. He also has a state pension that pays him $1,500 per month, or $18,000 per year guaranteed for life. Under expenses and taxes, we can see that he wants to spend that $50,000 that we covered earlier between now and his advanced age or age 85. Recognizing an advanced age reduced spend is really important because there comes a point where you just can't spend what you were when you first retired, and this is typically around age 80 to 85 years old. This is otherwise known as your no-go years, where expenses will reduce to 70 to 80% of your early retirement spend, which for Tom is $40,000 in today's dollars. The software will inflate these expenses at 3.5% per year. The software also accounts for federal and state tax, but since he lives in Florida, it will just calculate federal tax. We're going to run several Monte Carlo analyses to determine if he is able to retire at the end of this year as is, and if not, what he needs to do to get there. A Monte Carlo analysis is the best way to test the success of a financial plan. Simply put, the computer takes 1,000 different stock market scenarios between now and Tom's life expectancy. A third of the scenarios use above average stock market performance, a third use average, and the final third use below average market performance. The computer then takes your baseline of information and runs it against all 1,000 of these stock market outcomes, giving us a percentage of likelihood that you will make it to your life expectancy without running out of money. We're looking for a chance of success or a score of 85% or higher. But before we can do this, we need to run an analysis on his current investments to see what he stands to lose in a major bear market, because I'm going to use that scenario as a stress test to run in the Monte Carlo analysis. Here we are in Riskalyze, and this is software that can actually quantify how much risk a client is taking so that we can see how vulnerable they are to the sequence of returns risk. Essentially, we need to make sure that he can withstand a major bear market at the beginning of his retirement so that he doesn't run out of money in his 80s or sooner. Riskalyze scores portfolios from 1 to 100, 1 being cash, CDs, fixed annuities, basically investments that can't lose value. The S&P 500 scores a 73, and Bitcoin, or a very volatile individual stock, would score 100. Here we can see his overall portfolio scores a 67 out of 100, and his asset class breakdown is 78% stock and 22% bond. This allocation has worked very well for him up to now. And you'll see here that I included everything except for his high yield savings account because that's for emergencies. It's not really part of his investments. You can also see that each separate account has its own risk score, and I ordered them from least to most aggressive. Under his overall score, you can see that his average annual return is 7.98% per year. Now, this is great information, but the real question is, with this specific investment allocation, what do they stand to lose if we go into recession next year or the first full year of their retirement? Under stress tests, we can see several scenarios and their outcomes, but I want to focus on the third scenario, the if a financial crisis were to happen again. This model's what occurred between October 15th of 2007 and March 2nd of 2009, where the S&P 500 lost 53.1% of its value. If that occurred again, Tom would lose 45.7%, or roughly $312,000 of his $750,000 in investable assets. This information is crucial because we need to ensure that he can succeed even in the worst case scenario. With that information, let's start running some Monte Carlo analysis to see how realistic his retirement plan is. To review, his primary goal is to retire at the end of this year and spend $50,000 per year adjusted for inflation at 3.5%. We're using a life expectancy of 95 years old, and we do have that reduced advanced age spend starting at age 85. And again, we're looking for a chance of success or a score of 85% or higher. You can see the percentage of success down here and total portfolio assets left here. And now it's time to stress test. We can see here that if he lives to age 95 at his desired expenses and there's no major bear market upon retirement, he has a 99% chance of success. This means that 990 of the 1,000 stock market scenarios were successful. That's not my concern though, as most of our clients will be totally fine if we can avoid a recession in their first 5 years of retirement. But we need to make sure that Tom can survive that. So if he loses $312,000 next year, his chances of success go from 99% all the way down to 64%. This is again due to sequence of returns risk. This tells us that if he wants to retire now, he needs to lower the risk or the stock position of his portfolio. When you're retiring in your mid-50s and relying heavily on your investments, as Tom is, it's so important to bucket your money, which we'll get into soon. However, if he does not want to reduce risk, in order to ensure his success, he'll need to reduce his base spending of $50,000 in today's dollars down to $47,000 in today's dollars, which means he would need to cut spending by about $250 per month. But our job is to figure out what tweaks he can make so that he can get as close to that $50,000 per year as possible. The first thing we're going to do to help him is to reduce some risk in his portfolio just for the first 5 years of his retirement. This doesn't mean that he needs to keep this more conservative allocation for his whole retirement. In fact, it only needs to be during the retirement red zone, which is again the first 5 years. We bucket his money according to time frame and find that his ideal investment allocation is 44% stock, 31% bond, and 25% a mixture between cash or high yield money market funds and other, which are income funds and a small amount of commodities. With this allocation and these specific holdings, his average annual return is only slightly less than his current more aggressive allocation at 6.88% per year. And instead of losing $312,000 in a major bear market, he would lose 26.7 or 26.1% rather, or $177,000. Believe it or not, this makes a huge difference in his chances of success and gives him the cash he needs to cover the first 5 to 10 years of retirement without having to sell when the market's low or during a dip in the portfolio. Okay, back to the Monte Carlo to test the portfolio rebalance. We can see here that the rebalance increases his chances of success from 64,000 before to 93, or 64% before to 93% here, which means he's already 8% higher than our goal of 85%. In fact, if the rebalance was all he did, he could actually increase his annual spending from $50,000 a year to $52,000 a year, or get an extra $167 a month. But we're not done yet. Now let's look at his Social Security maximization report. On this page, we can see Tom's age of 56 and his average life expectancy, which at 56 is actually 79 years old and 6 months. Do keep in mind that as you age, your life expectancy will increase. For instance, a 65-year-old man has a life expectancy of 82 years old. Down near the bottom here, we can see his primary insurance amount, or the amount he's entitled to at age 67 penalty-free, which is $3,100 per month. And here we can see that he would get the most money from the Social Security system between now and age 79 and 6 months by pulling his benefit at age 65 and 9 months for $2,842 a month. Remember, your Social Security benefit increases each month, not just each year. So 9 times out of 10, this report will show an age in some odd months as ideal. All right, now let's test a couple of strategies using the Monte Carlo analysis. While it's great knowing when to take your benefit to maximize over an average life expectancy, we also need to understand how each strategy works using each client's unique circumstances. Remember that the base facts have Tom taking his benefits at full retirement age or age 67, so we're going to test that against taking benefits early at age 62 and against following the Social Security maximization report at 65 and 9 months. We're going to focus on his probability of success as well as the present value of the total portfolio assets left here. We're going to look for the highest score, right? Okay, using the base strategy or taking at age 67, the Monte Carlo probability is 93%. To be clear, the light blue line here represents the next several decades having above average market returns, the dark blue line represents average returns, and the light yellow line represents constant below average returns, thus this wide range of leftover assets. Let's compare that to Tom taking benefits early at age 62. We can see here that this decreases his chance of success by nearly 10%, so that's definitely not the way to go. You might say, but Julia, he's retiring at 56. Shouldn't he just take his benefits as early as possible? And the answer is no. When you're single, unless you're terminally ill, delaying your benefits past age 62 is crucially important, as the guaranteed growth you'll get through those delays is higher than any guarantee you can get elsewhere. That is the foundation of your retirement income and also serves as longevity insurance. So we now know that waiting to age 67 is far better than taking benefits at age 62. But what about following the maximization report and taking benefits at 65 and 9 months? We can see here that the percentage chance of success is only slightly less than taking benefits at 67. It's important to remember that in this scenario, we have him living to age 95. So clearly, the longer he delays, the better his chances of success will be. Personally, the difference isn't big enough between 65 and 9 months and 67 to strongly encourage waiting the extra 15 months. So we decide that he'll take benefits at 65 and 9 months. With this in mind, we're going to use our tax planning software to see how we can minimize his lifetime tax liability. But before I can show you these results, I have to explain something called conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom is a widely held belief that upon retirement, you should pull from your after-tax assets first, meaning your savings and taxable brokerage accounts, then your pre-tax accounts or traditional IRAs and 401ks, and lastly, your Roth IRA. While we normally agree that Roth accounts should be pulled after your brokerage and your pre-tax accounts, I'm going to show you why conventional wisdom fails in most every circumstance I've ever analyzed, and I've analyzed hundreds of cases. On this page, we see conventional wisdom plus the best non-Roth strategy and the best Roth conversion strategy. Here under cumulative taxes, we can see that doing what most people do will force him to pay nearly $40,000 more over his lifetime than if he follows the Roth conversion strategy, and nearly $20,000 more than if he follows an optimized distribution strategy. So let's start with the less intimidating non-Roth strategy details first. Here we can see that Tom would draw 100% of the first 5 years of income from his after-tax brokerage account. He would then move to an all pre-tax distribution from years 7 through 11, and then in year 12, he would pull the majority of his income from his Roth IRA, with the remainder from his pre-tax IRA. Remember, this doesn't require a Roth conversion, but it does decrease his lifetime tax liability by about $20,000. Next, let's look at the best Roth conversion strategy. First, we're going to look at how much and what year they're recommending. We can see the proposed Roth conversion amounts here per year, and the total over 8 years is roughly $100,000, with the maximum amount in 1 year of under $30,000. Under this tab, we can see that while he converts, he will be pulling his living expenses plus the tax liability on the conversions from his after-tax brokerage account, and then eventually moving to an all Roth or a tax-free distribution strategy. In his 19th year of retirement, he will be forced to pull a small RMD with what's left in the pre-tax IRA, but it's still mainly a Roth-only distribution plan. Again, we can see here that this saves him nearly $40,000 in total lifetime tax. And this is really helpful, but we need to know what his break-even ages are in terms of taxes paid. So if Tom does follow the conversion strategy, at what age will his cumulative taxes paid be less than the non-Roth or the conventional wisdom strategy? On this chart, we can see the taxes due under each of the three strategies. CW stands for conventional wisdom, BNR stands for best non-Roth, and of course best Roth is just that Roth conversion strategy we just reviewed. I used different colored bars to highlight the break-even ages between each strategy. And Tom is really only interested in comparing the best non-Roth to the best Roth strategy. And here we can see that he would start to win tax-wise with Roth conversions at age 75. Tom's family has lived well into their 80s and 90s, so for him, this is good enough reason to follow that conversion strategy, and I agree. Now, let's go test that in the Monte Carlo analysis to see how much this helps him. Remember that just bucketing his investments and following the Social Security maximization strategy already gives him a 92% chance of success at being able to spend $50,000 per year up to age 85, where those reduce to $40,000. And actually, he can spend up to $52,000 per year if he needs or wants to. But if he follows the Roth conversion strategy, his chances of success increase from 92% to 94%. Now, it's important to note that this software doesn't show an increase in future tax rates. It keeps them level because nobody knows what taxes are going to do. Therefore, if tax rates do increase, then these Roth conversions will be even more powerful for Tom. In conclusion, through bucketing his investments, maximizing his Social Security, and strategic tax planning, Tom can retire comfortably at age 56 with $750,000 in investable assets while being protected against the sequence of returns risk. And through this exercise, we're all able to see the profound impacts of many small decisions on the quality of a retirement plan. Now you know the exact process to follow when you are deciding to retire. This process can be applied to your situation so that you can make sure that you don't work too long or retire too soon. However, there are going to be different nuances that come up in your situation that I have not been able to cover in this short video. So if you want a team of professionals to analyze your situation and create an optimal plan completely tailored to you, click the first link in the description. It will take you to a page where you can book a completely free consultation with us, where we can begin to help you build the retirement of your dreams.